Another significant part of Chan's work has been to apply political pressure through protest, rallies, and direct meetings and confrontations with politicians. And while there has been not one single condemnation by any parliamentarian of Canada's crimes in Haiti, Haiti as an injustice has not been allowed to be overlooked. Unfortunately, like so many violations and covert actions are, to name a few, East Timor, Somalia, and Colombia. And so no matter how small that contingent at that anti-war rally, no matter that one speaker who addressed the issue of Haiti in the wider, anti-war movement, the suffering of the Haitian people was not allowed to be ignored. And Ottawa could not showcase Haiti as part of its good work around the world and was forced into a position of silence, and in some places like Quebec actually it had to defend its role in Haiti. Yves Engler, one of the authors of Canada and Haiti's direct action of throwing red paint on the hands of Pierre Pettigrew and his arrest following his shouting down of our former Prime Minister, with "Martin lies, Haitians dies," was really effective, I think, because it invaded those political actors' spaces of comfort, and in my opinion, also challenged the media's silence. And similarly, the actions of Chan activists throughout Canada in the last federal election to confront politicians was effective because the arena in Canada in which we can hold elected officials accountable is very limited. And so at these opportunities where they're forced to come out and meet their critics, such as in elections, is an opportunity we really have to take advantage of. So in Montreal, I know there was a lot of work in exposing the role that Pierre Pettigrew played as Foreign Affairs Minister, with informational posters and repeated interventions at all candidates' debates, with the result that Pettigrew, the face of Canada and Haiti, the man who had shook the blood-stained hand of Paul Arcelin, the self-proclaimed mastermind behind the coup, Pierre Pettigrew lost his seat to a Haitian, Vivienne Barbeau of the Bloc Québécois. And Kevin Scared informed me that in the crucial swing riding of Ottawa Centre, activists made an intervention around condemning the Liberal record on Haiti at a critical all-candidates federal meeting, and the NDP doer kept his seat. And in Toronto, we participated in many all-candidates debates. Most notably, we confronted the aspiring future Tsar of Canada, Michael Ignatieff, one of the main authors of The Responsibility to Protect Doctrine, and we asked him what he thought the consequences of the application of his doctrine were, the brutal application of his doctrine were in Haiti. And so this man, Michael Ignatieff, the Harvard University professor, the expert on foreign policy, was forced to admit that he did not know much about the situation in Haiti. And the other aspect of these political confrontations was the delivering of documentation to political leaders. The Griffin Report was discussed and was presented to Paul Martin, Pierre Pettigrew, Denis Coderre, Jack Layton, and Alexa McDonough, to name a few. And the fact is, the leaders of the NDP have seen the evidence of Canada's crimes in Haiti. Like the photograph of that 4-year-old child shot in the head with Canadian-manufactured bullet and by Canadian-backed MINUSTA troops. So when Jack Layton calls for Canadian peacekeeping in Darfur, we can call him on that hypocrisy because we know that he has seen Haiti's massacred. And I think that method of direct confrontation is something we need to take with us into the next impending election, as well as the Liberal leadership race that is still on, by exposing Canada's crimes in Lebanon, Palestine, Iraq, Afghanistan, Haiti, and against our First Nations, as well as the racist attack on the Muslim inhabitants of this country through the racist anti-terror laws. And so now let me wrap up with the challenges ahead. And I think the primary one for Chan is to continue to keep Haiti in the focus. We have to continue to remind people that our attack on Haitian democracy continues and that Canada has signed on to 20 more years of that attack. and that it must end, and that Haiti is really the first phase for a larger Canadian project for that entire region. And we're already seeing the beginnings of that with now the recent election of the Sandinista in Nicaragua and in Venezuela, and the destabilization that is occurring in Venezuela and that might occur in Nicaragua as well. And as part of that effort, I think we have to meet that challenge of exposing Canada's duplicitous role in the world, and debunking that myth of Canada the peacekeeper and Canada the neutral moderator. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we're having some help on this from the right. And successfully revealing Canada's criminal acts in Haiti, I think, offers an opportunity of exposing the nefarious nature of the tools and the institutions that are used for imperial wars, the NGOs that are the new tool for destabilizing, undermining, and eventually overthrowing governments, undesirable governments. And instead of purportedly they promote democracy, but really what they are supporting is transnational elite rule. They are supporting polyarchy, where at election times populations come out to vote for one or another set of elites. In other words, the wonderful version of democracy that we all enjoy here and that we have just witnessed in action south of the border. And the other thing is the responsibility to protect doctrine, a doctrine that Canada presented and that was passed at the UN World Summit last year, and that really gives about 20 rich Western nations the right to break international law, to infringe on the sovereignty of poor nations, if those 20 nations determine that unfortunate country to be failed. And I think challenging the responsibility to protect and its criminal and racist elements is imperative to any anti-war movement, and I think should be part of our collective work. In fact, it was that responsibility to protect doctrine that was used to, when Canada needed to maneuver over the legal challenges on our criminal intervention in Afghanistan. And lastly, I think it is essential, absolutely essential, to keep in focus the real reason for our work, and that is the direct, intended, and targeted victims of colonial imperial wars, whether it's those murdered by our agents in Haiti, the men, women, and children bombed by our military in Afghanistan, the thousands starved to death by our sanctions in Palestine, or the countless First Nations that are murdered by a continuation of genocidal practices right here at home. And that focus, we have to keep that focus in our slogans, because these victims are largely ignored by the media, dismissed by politicians. And so we should constantly recall them. And I think, unfortunately, in some aspects of the anti-war movement, this may be beginning to be marginalized, and I think maybe we can tackle this in the discussion period. And as an extension of that type of solidarity, I think we should, whether we agree with the tactics or not, support the right of every oppressed people to resist. And we must oppose the use of racial slander, calling any Muslim resistor a terrorist, and calling any black resistor, as in Haiti, a thug and a bandit. We must oppose this and call them what they are. They are resistors. They are resisting imperial colonial wars. And so on that note, I'll end off on the words of Sir Soane, the recently released, beautifully passionate and resilient pro-democracy activist in Haiti, as well as a grandmother, who, when she was released from her 27 months in prison as a political prisoner, was asked about the so-called rats in Haiti, what I see as the militant youth resisting the UN occupation, to which she responded, "Oh yes, I know them. I am the mother rat." Thank you.